Hey everybody, welcome back to Real Meals. Today we're going to be making these totally guilt-free, protein-rich, fiber-rich Southwest Chicken Quinoa Bowls. Now these have a number of different components that we need to prepare, but nothing very hard at all. They're zesty, spicy, creamy, sweet, salty, delicious. So let's jump on in. This is a simple sort of Southwest style dish. So we're going to make a creamy, zesty sauce to go on top. I'm going to start with a base of mayonnaise. Then we'll add some sriracha. Then I'm going to add some lime juice. I'm using bottled lime juice today, but fresh would definitely be preferred. And then we'll add some oregano, some smoked paprika to give it a nice smoky flavor. And then I'm just going to add a shot of water as well to let the sauce down a little bit and make it a bit more pourable. And then we'll just whisk this up or stir it up so that it's all combined. And then I'll set that aside until we need it at the end. Next, we're going to move on to the corn. I'm going to use a can of corn here, but you could use frozen. You could even use fresh cut off the cob if you wanted. Canned corn is cooked in the can, so we're not going to be cooking this any further or heating it up even. Then I'm going to add some feta cheese. You could also use a Mexican cotija cheese here, something dry, salty, crumbly. And then we'll add in some black pepper. No need for salt in this one. Cheese has plenty of salt for this component of the dish, so we'll just add the pepper and then set this aside. Next, we're going to move on to the beans. I'm using canned black beans here. I'm going to drain off the liquid before adding those to a bowl. You could use other kinds of beans here, pinto beans or navy beans, whatever you prefer. I like the color contrast of the black beans in this dish, so that's what I'm going to go with. Then we're going to add a bunch of spices to this. Salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, chili powder, ancho chili powder, and then some water. And I'll give that a stir and pop it on the stove on a low heat just to warm through. Next, we're going to move on to the spinach. We'll start by finely chopping some garlic and then adding that to a pan with some olive oil. We'll just let that start to warm through a little bit, but not brown. And then I'll add a couple of big handfuls of washed spinach leaves. And here you can really fit as much as you can into the pan. It'll always wilt down to way less than you think it's going to. So fit as much as you can in there. I'll season that with a bit of salt and pepper. And then we'll cover that up and turn the heat off. Now somehow I managed to not get footage of seasoning the chicken, but it's basically all the same spices that went into the beans. So salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, chili powder, ancho, and then I added some olive oil, which I rubbed onto the chicken. And then I popped these in the oven for 15 to 18 minutes at about 400 degrees. And then finally onto the quinoa. I like to cook quinoa very simply. I just add a measured amount to a pot. I add twice as much water and then nothing else. No salt, nothing else. You bring that up to a boil, then you reduce the heat right down to a simmer, and you cover that and cook it for 15 minutes without touching it. Now the chicken's all cooked through, so we'll get that out, and it's time to assemble these bowls. I'm going to chop up the chicken into bite-sized pieces to make it easier to eat, but you could serve these with chicken pieces whole or a whole chicken breast even if you wanted. And that's it. That's the dish. There's quite a few different elements in this one. None of them are hard though. A couple of them we didn't even have to cook, so it's perfect for a weeknight meal when you want something tasty and filling, but with almost no fat and no guilt. So let's take a look at the total cost of this meal. As always, the meat is our most expensive element, although even in this case, we're only using a small amount of chicken because it's being supported in this dish by the beans. So we don't even really need that much chicken, and it's not that expensive. Beyond that, the two canned items, and then the spinach and the quinoa make up the bulk of the rest of the cost. Everything else is just spices and oils, basically pantry items. So that brings the total cost to $13.14 altogether, and we managed to get 4 bowls out of this. So we end up with a per meal cost of $3.29. Now, not quite under $2 like some of the meals that we've done in the past on this channel, but still very reasonable for a weeknight family dinner. Now, there wasn't a lot of cooking to be done in this in this meal, basically beyond throwing the chicken in the oven and heating up the beans and quinoa. But there was still quite a bit of prep that needed to be done, so we spent about 20 minutes preparing things, and then about 15 minutes in total cooking time, although there was definitely some overlap in those activities, so this one was done in just a little over a half an hour. And that's it. Zesty, spicy, savory, sweet, salty, high in protein, high in fiber, high in iron. This one's pretty hard to beat for a healthy meal that doesn't require a lot of effort to make. And there are lots of variations that you can make on this idea. You could change up the meat, switch up the greens, switch up the beans. There's lots of different options that you can make with these types of bowl meals. Anyway, that's it, folks. If you enjoyed this video or you found it useful, please do hit that like button. And as this is a brand new channel, I'd very much appreciate you subscribing so that I can keep bringing you more videos. Talk soon.